Let's get going. Let's get going. Consider what I say, and the Lord give thee understanding in all things. All right. Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in Christ Jesus with eternal glory. Okay. Study to show thyself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. I can't wait till we get to the New Testament. Can't wait till we get to the New Testament. Okay. We're on Leviticus 14 today, starting at Leviticus 14. So last time we read about Aaron's sons being ordained as the first priests. Then we read about the first service and the first failure, the strange fire, the strange incense. Then we got into ritual purity, which is Leviticus 11 through 15. So we're in the middle of we're at the end of that now. We have two more. We covered food, we covered childbirth, and we covered skin, which was like the longest section ever about leprosy, and it was very graphic. Definitely not something you're going to read to the kids in Sunday school. Now we're on chapter 14. We're going to look at ritual purity of mold, how to deal with mold. Probably because mold could lead to leprosy, and leprosy was a big deal back then. And bodily fluids in chapter 15, body fluids. Then in chapter 16 and 17, we're going to look at the Day of Atonement and animal sacrifices. More animal sacrifices, more blood sacrifices. Evening David in chapter 17. Excuse me. Now I got a sneeze coming. I figured out why my eye twitches. It's because of lack of sleep and too much caffeine. Today's the toughest day for the Bible studies because it's Tuesday. And usually I go to bed at like 1 p.m. and I'll wake up at 8 p.m. and go to work. But on Mondays, I do my Monday night show, so I go to bed at 1 p.m. and I wake up at 5:30 p.m. So yesterday, I only got 4.5 hours of sleep. And so I'm tired. I'm always tired on Tuesdays. The endless fun of Leviticus. Let's go. Let's get right into it. The ritual purity of mold. This is going to be exciting. I can't wait. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. Yep, I just read that. That's 2 Timothy 2. Study thyself approved. Study thyself approved. And rightly divide the word. All right. Rightly divide the word. That could mean lots of things. I'm going to lose everybody when I get to the New Testament. But anyway, chapter 14, mold, the cleansing of lepers, more cleansing of, this is more about the lepers. It is. I figured the mold was going to be about the lepers because the mold leads to the infection, which leads to the leprosy when it gets in an open sore. This is like a medical text. It's law. It's the law of how to deal with the lepers, but it's also almost like a medical text, and it gets kind of hey Jalen, you can get out, or I can if you're gonna just come in here saying nonsense. Chapter 14, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, this shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought. Do you know what an abomination is, Jalen? Yeah, You want to do some Bible thumping with me real quick? We can do some Bible thumping. We can find out about the abominations. You want to know about those? Yeah. Should be careful. You shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house, buddy. This shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper. Oh, more leprosy. This has been 4 pages of this. And the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them in the living bird, in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. What a do? What a do, Dean? And he that is to be cleaned shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water. Making sure my, okay, cool. And wash himself in water that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. But it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave all his hair off his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows. Even all his hair he shall shave off. And he shall wash his clothes. Also he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be clean. Then he needs some soap, man. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 he-lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe-lamb of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering, and mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man. So a he-lamb is a boy lamb, a ewe-lamb is a girl lamb. The 3/10 deals of fine flour is a measurement, and the meat offering, remember, is meal, also meal offering or a grain offering, and the log of oil is another measurement. They didn't use the metric system back then. They didn't have no metric system. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean, and those things before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall take 1 he-lamb and offer him for a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. So they're doing a wave offering, a trespass offering, all the offerings. They're doing all the offerings for this, for leprosy. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where he shall kill the sin offering, and a sin offering, and a burnt offering, and the burnt offering in the holy place for a sin offering. As the priest, so is the trespass offering. It is most holy. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and shall sprinkle of the oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And of the rest of the oil that is in his hand shall the priest put upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering. And the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord. And the priest shall offer the sin offering, and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness. And afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat offering upon the altar. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean. And if he be poor and cannot get so much, then he shall take 1 lamb for a trespass offering to be waved to make an atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil for a meat offering, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to get. And the one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And he shall bring them on the 8th day of his cleansing unto the priest, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the trespass offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the place of blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, to make an atonement for him before the Lord. This is very repetitive. And he shall offer the one of the turtle doves or of the young pigeons, such as he can get, even such as he is able to get, the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering with the meat offering. I feel like they like it almost seems like they messed up when printing. I know that I don't mean to be blasphemous. I'm just joking. It just seems like they copied the same thing 3 times. Because it's very repetitive. And the priest shall make an atonement. I guess that's part of the sacrament or the ritual. And the priest shall make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed before the Lord. This is the law of him in whom is the plague of leprosy, whose hand is not able to get that which pertaineth to his cleansing. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, when ye come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, it seemeth to me there is, as it were, a plague in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest go into it to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterwards the priest shall go in to see the house. So this is the mold, leprosy in a house. So we talked about leprosy on the skin, leprosy on the clothes. I think it points to the meticulous nature of God. Yeah. Also, it was 3 times. If you notice, they did the whole process 3 times. So there's, there could be power in that. Maybe it points to some sort of reference to the triune nature of God. That could be a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know that for sure. The 3, 33 is when Jesus died. Now I listened to a gematria debate last night, and now I'm thinking about numbers too much. We're about to be on numbers next. Then the priest shall command that they empty I already read that. Shall go in to see the house, and he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again the 7th day, and shall look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house. Then the priest shall command. It's almost like this plague, this mold. And I believe in the Old Testament times before Jesus comes, we were like closer with the gods and the demons. When I say gods, I mean lowercase g gods. I mean like the angels, the fallen angels, the angels. I think people were closer with the spiritual realm. And that's why we see things like sorcery and magic happening, and giants and dragons and stuff like that. So it's almost like this mold is like this plague, this mold, this leprosy is like a living thing. Remember when we were reading about when it's in the clothes, they could watch it spreading across the clothes, and it was green and red and black and changing colors, and it's like spreading across the clothes. It's almost like a living thing, like a growth, like something you'd see in a scary movie or something. Most safe C-Sal. Morning, Jazz. We've been sick as dogs. Finally getting over it. Good to hear. Good to hear. Don't you know sickness isn't real, C-Sal? She's probably been on bed rest for like a week. She's like, shut up. I've been very sick. Then the priest shall command that they take away the stone. Well, you came back to the Bible study at the not the best part. We're learning about leprosy and mold. It's at least now it's in a house and it's not on the skin anymore. We had to read 3 pages of leprosy on the skin and what's the word? Festering boils. That was lovely. Verse 40, then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city, outside of the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within round about, and they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place. So I'm wondering, see, it has to be something more than just bacteria. Like, I know if you Google leprosy, it tells you it's basically just like a bacterial infection. But when I hear that it's like crawling on the walls of the house and it's crawling across the, okay, that's too much information, Seaside. We don't need to know about, when you're climbing up a ladder and you feel a little splatter, diarrhea. We don't need to know about all that. But what was I just saying? Oh, it's almost like it's a living thing, this plague, this mold, that it spreads across the walls. But I also think it's evil. It's almost like it's an evil spirit taking a physical form, because it doesn't affect the priests. Like, the priests can walk into a house where it's crawling on the walls and they can scrape it off and gather the dust. They didn't have hazmat suits back then. So I'm assuming these priests are just walking in, just girded in their holy garb, their epic or their epoch, or the ephod, the ephod and the crown and the what was it called? The anyway, like their protection clothing, their holy priest clothing protects them from the mold. So it's almost like it's more than just some sort of bacteria. It's like a real living evil spirit thing, this leprous mold. Because they go in and scrape it off, and I guess they're all right. And they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones, and he shall take other mortar and shall plaster the house. And if the plague come again and break out in his house after that, he hath taken away the stone, after that he had taken away the stones, and after he hath scraped the house, and after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he that goeth into the house all the while that it is shut up shall be unclean until the even. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague both hath not spread in the house after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. This house is clean. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds and cedar wood, and scarlet and hyssop. And he shall kill the one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water, and he shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the scarlet and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. And he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall let go the living bird out of the city into the open fields to make an atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, and for leprosy of a garment and of a house, and for rising, and for a scab, and for a bright spot, to teach when it is clean, and when it is unclean, and when it is clean, This is the law of leprosy. Hallelujah. We're done with leprosy. Now, let's get into bodily fluids. It's not going to get much better, guys. Unclean issues from the body. It's about to get graphic again, I think. I have a feeling. Chapter 15, Leviticus 15. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue, he is unclean. A running issue. I'm guessing in other translations it probably says sore or boil. Leviticus 15, 2. Leviticus 15, 2. You figured out how to use this thing yet, David? You just look up the first third is a English dictionary, basically. So I'm going to go to issue. LMNOP, QRS, Israel. Lots of pages of Israel. Isaiah, issue. Then you find the verse that you're looking for. So issue. We go to Leviticus 15:2. Okay, so there's a couple uses of this word. There's 2,100 and 2,101. Since we're in the Old Testament, we're going to go to Hebrew. 2,100 and 2,101. You look at the numbers at the top. I can barely pick it up today after the gym. Well, I just went to the gym. I could pick it up. You got to keep lifting. 2,000. What is it? 2,100? 2,100. Another thing you should look into is an interlinear Bible. So then you can read the Bible. You have the interlinear there. The interlinear has the exact word for word Hebrew with the English under it. So you read the chapter in English, then you read it in the interlinear, and then some interlinears over each word will have the Strong's Concordance numbers. So you don't have to actually look them up here. You just go from your Bible to your interlinear Bible, and then it'll have the number there of the word in Hebrew, and then you can go straight to your Strong's Concordance to see the definition. And you can pretty much learn the language that way. To an extent, I guess. What am I looking for? 2,100. You won't learn like sentence structures and things like that very well, but you'll learn words. Okay, 2,100 issue. The Hebrew word is zub, to flow freely, to have a sexual flux, to waste away, also to overflow, have an issue, gush out, pine away. And also zob is going to be used here in a little while. So zub and zob, a semi-normal or menstrual flux. Oh, so we're talking about, so we're really talking about, okay, this is not an open wound. This is, so it's masculine and feminine. Right now we're talking about men. And in the next couple verses, we're going to be talking about women. And an issue running forth means things are leaking out of their genitals. That's what we're covering today, guys. You don't learn everything that's in the Bible. You don't learn everything that's in the Bible in Sunday school, ladies and gentlemen. They usually skipped this chapter when I was in Christian school. Oh, man. When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because his issue is unclean. Basically, if your dilly-dally is leaking, then your junk is not clean. You might have Might have got with a dirty lady. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue. Do we know what his issue is? Okay. Or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereupon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the even. He's got a zoob. Guys got zoobs, ladies got zobes. They skipped this bit in church, huh? You never heard no church cover this chapter. You've never been to church and they said, today, guys, we're going to talk about, today in my sermon, we're going to preach on Leviticus 15. I think most people skip over this part. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the even. And he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean. Whoa. Are they saying he that has his issue spit upon someone who is clean? So if I have a leaking, running issue and it spits upon someone who's, bro, this is getting graphic. What? I've read this before. I think I've only read Leviticus in its entirety like twice. And I was like speed reading. I was just trying to read the whole Bible. So I was just speed reading in my head. So I wasn't really thinking about these things. And when I'm reading this, I assumed it meant, it's kind of like the leprosy thing. You have like a leaky sore on your arm or something like that. But this is, Dean, come on. It's graphic enough in Leviticus. You don't gotta make it worse. Let's try to be mature about this, guys. I'm trying my hardest, okay? We got ladies here. Seesaw left. She's like, oh, I read this before. I'm not interested in the zoobs and the zobes. Okay. He that hath the issue spit. Let me see. It says E. No, it says C. Running of the reins. C, it says Numbers 12:14. Hold on a second. It's referencing me to Numbers 12:14. What? What is this saying? It says C. When I look at C, it says Numbers 12:14. Oh, I'm on Numbers 11:14. That's why it didn't make any sense. Hold on. Numbers 12:14. Is this going to talk about a spitting zoob? And the Lord said unto Moses, if your father hath not spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that, let her be received in again. Is this talking about he that hath issue spit upon him that is clean? He shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the 7. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. This is wild. And whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And the vessel of earth that he toucheth, which hath the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he hath an issue, and when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for the sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the evening. His seed of copulation go out from him while he has a leaky issue. He should not let his seed of copulation go out. Okay. And every garment and every skin whereupon the seed of copulation shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the even. You can't be sleeping with a dude who's got a runny issue. And if a woman have, here we go, here's the Zob. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. So a woman's issue could just be her period. But it could also be other things, because it says if her issue happens to be her blood, then she goes away for 7 days. You gotta hide them for. I mean, that's smart. I gotta say, that's just smart. Eating dinner in Bible study today has turned. Yeah. You don't want to be eating dinner while we're talking about this. This is not what you want to be eating dinner while you're listening to. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, I already said that. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. I kind of like this idea of like hiding them for 7 days, like making them leave town for 7 days when their issue is blood. You know what I'm saying? You gotta know what I'm saying? I know what I'm talking about. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if it be on her bed or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, flowers, that's a nice way to put it, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. Oh man, I need a drink of my coffee right now. This is Let's look up flowers, because I know it doesn't mean. I know they ain't talking about. I mean, they might be talking about some tulips. If you know what I'm talking about, some tulips. Flowers. This is 1524 flowers. Oh, yeah, my arms are sore too, and this book is heavy. Flowers. A, B, C, D, E, F. Let's see what the Hebrew word for this is, because this is not the type of flowers that we normally think of. Elemento. Flux, fly, flourish, flow, flowed, flower. Where were we at? Exodus, Leviticus. Oh, it's flowers with an S. Leviticus 15:24, 5079. 5079. 5079. The Hebrew word is nidah. Impurity, especially menstruation, separation, put apart, filthiness, flowers, set apart, menstruous, removed, unclean thing, unclean, uncleanness, menstruous woman, removed woman. So her flowers means her, yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought it meant. That's what I thought it meant by flowers there. You gotta be careful. Sometimes it doesn't mean what you think it meant. And so everything's unclean. Verse 25, and if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed whereupon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. That is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue of the man, and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean. Okay, that's over. That's over. Okay, chapter 16 it might get nicer now, because now we're going to look at atonement. So we're at the peak of the pyramid here, the pyramid of Leviticus that we have. We're at the peak of the pyramid of Leviticus. So chapter 16 and 17, we're going to look at the Day of Atonement. We're going to look at the atonement and the animal sacrifices in chapter 16 and 17. So remember, it goes ritual sacrifice, priest ordained, ritual purity. We work our way up through that. Then we get to atonement in the middle. Then we work our way down through moral purity, priest qualifications, and ritual feasts. So it focuses on rituals, priesthood, purity, and then the Day of Atonement. And then at the very end, the call to covenant faithfulness in chapters 26 and 27. Okay. Her bulbies. I don't know what that means. Chapter 16, atonement, the scapegoat. And the Lord spake unto Moses after the death of the 2 sons of Aaron, when they offered before the Lord and died. That was Abad and Nebaj and Abad or Adab. Abad and Nejab, the strange fire guys. They were burning the strange incense in the temple, and they got lit up. And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil before the mercy seat which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and with the linen mitre, shall he be attired. These are the holy garments, therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. And Aaron shall offer his bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make an atonement for himself and for his house. And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord, and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell, and offer him for a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness, a goat that escapes. And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. And he shall take a censer full of burning coals of fire from off the altar before the Lord, and his hands full of sweet incense, beaten small, and bring it within the veil. The incense is crushed and ground up, not in his hands, but beaten small means it's crushed and ground up. And he shall put the incense upon the fire before the Lord, and the cloud of the incense may cover the mercy seat that is upon the testimony, that he die not. And he shall take of the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward. And before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger 7 times. Then shall he kill the goat of the sin offering that is for the people, and bring his blood within the veil, and do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bullock, and sprinkle it upon the mercy seat and before the mercy seat. Remember, the mercy seat is the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, and because of their transgressions in all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness. And there shall be no man in the tabernacle of the congregation when he goeth in to make an atonement in the holy place, until he come out and have made an atonement for himself and for his household and for all the congregation of Israel. And he shall go out unto the altar that is before the Lord, and make an atonement for it, and shall take of the blood of the bullock and of the blood of the goat, and put it upon the horns of the altar round about. And he shall sprinkle of the blood upon it with his finger 7 times, and cleanse it, and hallow it from the uncleanness of the children of Israel. And when he hath made an end of reconciling the holy place and the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar, he shall bring the live goat. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions in all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. And Aaron shall come into the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall put off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the holy place, and shall leave them there. And he shall wash his flesh with water in the holy place, and put on his garments, and come forth and offer his burnt offering and the burnt offering of the people, and make an atonement for himself and for the people. And the fat of the sin offering shall he burn upon the altar. And he that let go the goat for the scapegoat shall wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward come into the camp. And the bullock for the sin offering, and the goat for the sin offering, whose blood was brought in to make an atonement in the holy place, shall one carry forth without the camp. And they shall burn in the fire their skins and their flesh and their dung. And he that burneth them shall wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp. I don't know why I thought these chapters were small. These are not small chapters. These are very long chapters. This is the bread and the butter. This is the bread and the butter. Hold on, coffee time. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Coffee in a turtle cup. Okay. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, ye shall afflict your souls, and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger that sojourneth among you. For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you to cleanse you, that ye may be clean from all your sins before the Lord. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls by a statute forever. And the priest whom he shall anoint, and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest's office in his father's stead, shall make the atonement, and shall put on the linen clothes, even the holy garments. And he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar, and he shall make an atonement for the priests, and for all the people of the congregation. And this shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as the Lord commanded Moses. All right, chapter 17. So that's the atonement. That was atonement for the first failure and also they're supposed to do it annually, but specifically they started that because of the first failure, because Abad and Nijab, or whatever their names were, decided to smoke some pot in the tabernacle. Oh, where's Jalen at? I hope Jalen's still here, because we're going to see it in the next we're going to see it in Leviticus 18:22. I don't even have to go to the New Testament to read about the abominations. We're going to see it in Leviticus 18:22. Don't let me get ahead of myself. Are we going to get to 18? Moral purity in Leviticus 18 through 20. Leviticus 18 focuses on sexual purity. Can you take a wild guess on what it says in Leviticus 18:22? What do you think? What do you think is part of sexual purity, sexual morality? What do you think could possibly be included in there as something that is sexually immoral? Take a wild guess. I hope Jalen's still here. Chapter 17. And the Lord spake unto Moses. This is animal sacrifice, more animal sacrifices. This is a kind of short chapter, though, so we're going to go quick through it. I think once we get to moral purities, it's going to get more law-like, kind of like Exodus. Yeah, it's going to get more interesting in chapter 18. So let's get through chapter 17 real quick. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons and unto all the children of Israel, and say unto them, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, saying, What man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox or lamb or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. Actually, so what does that mean? Does that mean every animal they kill, they have to bring an offering? Let me see. Leviticus 17, 1 through 4. I want to look at a little explanation of this. I'm thinking what it means, because it's saying don't spill blood. Oh, it's just speaking about blood, forbidden blood. Therefore I say to Israel, none of you may eat blood, nor any foreign residing among you eat blood. Yeah, I have the verse right in front of me. I don't need the verse. The Enduring Word Commentary is pretty good. Who kills? This refers to the mere slaughter of animals for meat. This refers not to the mere slaughter of animals for meat, but specifically killing for the sake of sacrifice. Who kills an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp? Indeed, the technical term for sacrificing an animal, SHT, S-H-T, is the term used in verse 3. This word refers to the mere killing of an animal when it occurs in sacrificial context. Bring it to the door of the tabernacle of meeting. In the pagan world at that time, it was customary to offer sacrifice whenever one pleased. Altars were often built on high hills, in forested areas, or at other special places. The guilt of bloodshed shall be imputed to that man. With the building of the tabernacle, Israel had a centralized place of worship. Therefore, they were not allowed to offer sacrifice in any place or in any way that they pleased. They had to come to the tabernacle and have their sacrifice performed by the priest. So this verse 1-4, when it says, what man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox or lamb or goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer an offering unto the Lord, its blood shall be imputed upon him. It's not talking about slaughtering an animal for meat. It's saying, don't be like the pagans and just do your sacrifices wherever you want. If you kill an animal for a slaughter, or if you kill an animal for an offering, you need to bring it to the tabernacle. You can't just do your offerings in your living room. This is what it's talking about. So verse 5, to the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices which they offer in the open field, even that they may bring them unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest to offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord. So you don't do your sacrifices in the field or in your front yard or in your farm or in your kitchen. You bring when you're doing a sacrifice, it's only to be done in the tabernacle, which sets them apart from pagans. And the priest shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar of the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and burn the fat for a sweet savor unto the Lord. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. And thou shalt say unto them, whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers which sojourn among you, that offereth a burnt offering or sacrifice, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer it unto the Lord, even that man shall be cut off from among his people. So it's just reiterating, you don't do your sacrifices wherever you want. If you kill an animal for a sacrifice, you bring it to the tabernacle. And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people. That's another kosher law too. They still don't eat blood in Judaism. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. And that's a foreshadowing or a prophecy, essentially a parallel to Jesus. We talked about this before. You know, they had the blood, the shedding of the blood was symbolic for the atonement for our sins. But, you know, it wouldn't really atone for your sins, but just kill a bunch of doves and cows and goats and rams. But when Jesus shed his blood, that's why we don't have to do this anymore, because it was the ultimate blood sacrifice. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you. That brings up an interesting question in my head, but I don't even want to ask it out loud because it sounds bad. So I'm not going to ask it. I will ask it because maybe David's a smart guy and he does his research. Maybe somebody else will hear this that can do research. Or maybe we find out in the New Testament, maybe there's an answer given to this that I just haven't got to yet. Or maybe I could look it up right now if you guys want me to. But if they're commanded not to eat blood, then why at the Last Supper does Jesus say, drink of my blood? I'm not trying to be blasphemous. I'm honestly asking. In fact, I'm going to look it up. I asked it, Dean. I asked it. If God says, don't eat blood. Why does Jesus say, drink of my blood? Somebody's had to have given a commentary. In the Christian interpretation, when Jesus says, this is just an AI answer, but I'm going to scroll down and look at more. But in the Christian interpretation, when Jesus says, drink of my blood at the Last Supper, it's understood as a symbolic representation of his sacrifice and the new covenant established through his blood, not literal instruction to consume blood. It is seen as distinct from the Old Testament prohibition against consuming blood, which is interpreted as a dietary restriction meant to signify the sanctity of life, not as a universal command applicable to all situations. That kind of makes sense. Now, I believe that this saying that it's not a literal instruction to consume blood, I think some people would say that's a heresy. See, now we're getting into the whole thing of transmutation or what is it? Is it transmutation? See, everything's just going to what Jesus meant when he said, eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, which is not really the question I'm asking. This first AI answer answers the question I'm asking. I just don't know how reliable this is. So it's saying that here, this is a dietary restriction for the Israelites, which makes sense. Yeah, all this stuff is just explaining the story of the Last Supper, which I already understand that, but I'm specifically trying to see, is this like how this is justified? Anyway, I think yeah, you already texted me that, Joey. Huh. Nah, it's not a big deal. I think that first answer is adequate, that it's a dietary restriction, not a. It's because I had just said this seems like a parallel to the blood of Jesus, but then it says, whosoever man that they can't eat blood, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. Neither shall any stranger that sojourneth with among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off. So maybe, okay, that kind of adds some context that the blood represents the life, but you don't want to drink the blood of animals, because that's not the life that God is giving us. But when Jesus says, drink of my blood, he's the life giver. His blood is life. So we're drinking of his blood, which represents life. Whereas drinking of an animal's blood, you don't want to drink dang cow blood and have the life of a cow in you. Like that. Okay, that kind of makes sense. And every soul that eateth that which died of itself, or that which was torn with beasts, Whether it be one of your own country or a stranger, he shall both wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Then shall he be clean. But if he wash them not, nor bathe his flesh, then he shall bear his iniquity. That's the end of that chapter. Okay, it's 11:43. I don't know if we're going to get through these whole 3 chapters of moral impurities. It's not super long. I'd like to get all the way through 20 today. 20 is pretty long. We'll see. We'll see. But we're going to start off in chapter 18 about sexual morality, sexual moral impurities. This is where we're going to see things get forbidden. Certain sexual things are going to be forbidden here. So let's get right into it. You ready? Chapter 18. Jalen needs to listen to this. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Don't do what the Egyptians are doing. Don't do what the Canaanites are doing. You're going to do what I'm telling you to do, because they're doing some nasty, immoral things. Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances. Notice that's not an option. It's not written as an option. He doesn't say, you could or you could not. He says, ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord. If you don't do it, you die. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am the Lord. No family. No, don't be getting with your family members. So now the fact that this has to be put in here covers the issue that a lot of people will have with post-flood Noah and his family, Adam and Eve populating the earth. In between the fall and the law, a lot of crazy stuff was going on. Doesn't mean it was okay. It just means they didn't know the law yet. Now they're getting the law. Don't mess with your next of kin. Don't mess with your family members. No more. Cut that out. There's enough people now. You don't have to do that anymore. Even though technically we are all family, But like even today, the nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. Don't be checking out your naked aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover. So he owns that nakedness. You don't be looking at your brother's naked wife. That's his nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son's daughter of her daughter's or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. And I think this is specifically talking about family relations, but neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister, to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, beside the other in her lifetime. Beside the other in her lifetime. I think that means don't get with your wife's sister unless she dies in her lifetime. So if she dies, then you can get with her sister. Which actually, in the same thing, I think if a man dies, his wife getting with his brother after he dies and is not necessarily a bad thing. And I think I'm okay with that. Like Daddy Jub, if I had a wife and I died and you came in and took care of her and became her husband, I'd be all right with that. You know? We pass it down. It's a hand-me-down. Neither shall thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, besides the other in her lifetime. I'm going to look that one up. That's wording's a little confusing. 1818. I think it means what I think it means, but I want to be sure. Don't be taking your wife's sister to make her mad. Be looking at her nakedness. Leviticus 18 is a chapter in the Bible that deals with illicit sexual behavior. The chapter emphasizes the importance of divine law and the relationship between the divine lawgiver and the people. In this chapter, the Lord tells Moses, speak to the Israelites, not to do what Egypt and Canaanites do. This includes a list of inappropriate sexual partners, primarily directed at men. Lesbianism is not explicitly prohibited in the Torah, but gayness is. Leviticus 20. While your wife is still living, you shall not marry her sister as her rival and have intercourse with her. You shall not approach a woman to have. Okay. Yeah. So it is what I thought it was. So if your wife's alive, you don't go sleep with her sister to piss her off. If she dies, then you can get with her sister. It's always brutal dating a chick and finding out her sister's hotter. I know. I dated one girl, and they were both banging. And then I knew a guy that ended up getting with both of them, and I was like, dang, that's some skills. I probably could have, you know. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But I didn't. You know why? Because it would have been wicked to get. I actually could see this situation happening for real. Like, I was with a girl. We would argue. Her sister was hot. You know, you go sneak in the next bedroom over. Try to piss her off. That would be wicked. I've never done that. Just saying, I thought about it before. Okay. This is why I'm not a teacher or a preacher, guys. This is not your Sunday school Bible study, all right? Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. So when she's on that part of the cycle, you don't go near that. She goes over there. She needs to be out of the village. She hangs out in the shack outside. Verse 20, moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Pass through the fire to Moloch. Not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch? What is this, a ritual they would do? Let me read about this. Leviticus 18:21. Thou shalt not let any of the seed pass through the fire to Moloch. Okay, literally. Oh, seed, it doesn't mean. Okay, it's not talking. It's your kids. You don't put your kids in the hand of Moloch. It literally means to let your children pass, to put the child into the hands of the figure of Moloch when it fell into the fire which was kindled in the hollow statue of this idol. Moloch, also called Milcom, which denotes king, is described as the hideous idol or the abomination of the Ammonites. The following graphic description has been handed down traditionally of this idol and its worship. Our sages of blessed memory say that whilst all other idols had temples in Jerusalem, Moloch had his own temple outside Jerusalem in a place by itself. It was a brass and hollow image, bull-headed, with arms stretched out like a human being who opens his hands to receive something from his neighbor. Its temple had 7 compartments into which the offerers went according to their respected gifts. If one offered a fowl, he went into the first compartment, a sheep into the second, lamb into the third, a ram into the fourth, a bullock into the fifth, an ox into the sixth. And if he offered his son, he was conducted into the 7th compartment. He first kissed the image, as it is written, let the sacrificers of men kiss the calf, which is in Hosea 13:2. Whereupon a fire was kindled in Moloch till its arms became red hot. The child was then put into its hands, and drums were beaten to produce tremendous noises so as to prevent the shrieks of the child reaching the father's ears, lest he should be moved with pity towards his offspring. It was to this idol that Solomon erected a temple on the southern side of Mount Olivet. This idolatrous, and that was for a lady. Solomon was a simp, and he was building idols to false gods to please a bunch of ladies. He was wise, but he was a simp. Do whatever it takes to get the ladies, right? Yeah. This idolatrous worship was punished with death by stoning. Okay. So that literally means when it says, do not let your seed pass through the fires of Moloch, means don't sacrifice your children to Moloch. It's a good idea. And then notice, right after that horrible thing, all of these things are like, it starts out, it's kind of bad. It starts out basically incest. For a whole bunch of verses, don't do incest. Then adultery and cheating on and taking your neighbor's wife, sleeping with your wife's sister. Then don't sacrifice your children to Moloch. And then we get to verse 22. And this is something that a lot of these churches, these modern churches with women pastors and rainbow flags in front of the church, seems that they like to skip over this part right here. Verse 22, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast. So in the same category of sacrificing your children to Moloch, laying down with animals, right wedged in between there is men lying down with men as if they were women. But it's interesting how people will just skip over that verse nowadays in some of the modern Christian churches, quote unquote Christian churches. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. And that's a common thing. That's why they say all the white women have golden or German shepherds. That's a horrible joke, but I've heard it's a thing. What up, Robert? You just got here at an interesting segment. So, right in between child sacrifices to Moloch and men and women doing bestiality, we have homosexuality in Leviticus 19 as sexual immorality. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. And this is speaking to men. Okay. Most of this chapter is speaking to men. There are a couple things where they'll specify to women, but for the most part, this is all directed towards men. But see, like just there, it does mention women here. So it's interesting. They say women should not lie with animals. So maybe that was something ladies liked to do back then. I don't know. But most of these, it's talking to men. And the land is defiled. Therefore, I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. So when people say, "Oh, you mean Adam and Eve had incest going on? You mean after Noah's flood that there was incest going on?" Yes, it says it right here in Leviticus. God says makes the law because it was happening, and He says all the men before you did this, and it's gross. Cut it out. Stop it. It's an abomination. Quit doing it. But they didn't have the law yet. Between the fall and the law was something that was a Paul. Between the falling and the lawing, things got kind of appalling. What about women in German Shepherd? Don't worry about it, Dean. Don't worry. Don't Google it, please. And the land is defiled, that the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinances, that you commit not any of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, and that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Lord your God. Abominations. It's so whenever somebody says, "Well, how come? Oh, does you mean God approved of that?" No, He never approved of it. They just didn't know the law yet. He hadn't given them the law yet. Doesn't mean that it was moral when Adam and Eve were doing it, or when Noah and his family were doing it. It was bad when they were doing it too. They just didn't know the law yet. And also, it kind of had to happen in order to proliferate humans on the earth. And everything happens on God's time. Everything that happens is part of the plan that God had. So He kind of had to let it happen. He didn't have to, but He let it happen for a while so there could be a nation of Israel that didn't have to do this anymore. Then He gives them the law and says, "All right, time to cut that out. That was always gross. I never liked it." But He let it slide for a little while so they could build up people, and because it was part of the plan. Chapter 19. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto all the..." Now we're on chapter 19. Chapter 19 is moral practices. So chapter 18 was sexual immorality. Now we're going to talk about moral practices. So I'm not even sure what that means, but... Ooh, prostitution. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, Ye shall be holy. Ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Ye shall fear every man his mother and his father, and keep my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God." Fear as in revere, reverence, honor. "Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am the Lord your God. And if ye offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, ye shall offer it at your own will." Offer it at your own will. Uh-oh. You might have got me on one. Hold on. Oh, hold on a second. 5. Exodus 19:5. You see, I have to disprove myself on things sometimes because nobody else is going to do it. Nobody else can do it. 19:5. Leviticus 19:5. Will. How much you want to bet? This does not mean what it sounds like it means. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Granted, it's not enough to change my mind. BCD. ABCD. L. Will. Oh, there's a lot of will. Also, doesn't say free will. Will. Not this kind of will. This will. What is it? 19.5. 19.5. Leviticus 19.5. You shall offer it at your own will. 19.5. 7522. So a lot of these. So you'll notice if you were looking in a strong concordance and you go to the word will, a lot of times there's no reference number given because that word's not actually there. It's a word that's been filled in. Now, in this example, it is there. Leviticus 19.5, 7522. So there's 14, 7522, 2654, 5315. A lot of these are blank because it's not actually a Hebrew word, or it's not actually a word that's in the Hebrew. But this one is 7522. So if it says agency, then I may have just found something that 7522. I may have to stop debating it. My mind can be changed. I just need to see it for myself instead of people making horrible arguments. 7522. Nope, doesn't mean what. Due to your own pleasure. Desire. Desire could be desire due to your own desire, but it also says acceptable, accepted, goodwill, pleasure. Ratson. 7522. Ratson represents a concrete reaction of the superior to an inferior. When used of God, Ratson may represent that which is shown in his blessings, and for the precious things of the earth and fullness thereof, and for the goodwill of him that dwelt in the bush. Thus Isaiah speaks of the day, the year, or the time of divine favor. In other words, the day of the Lord when all the blessings of the covenant shall be heaped upon God's people. In wisdom literature, this word is used in the sense of what men can bestow. He that diligently seeketh good procureth favor, but he that seeketh mischief, it shall come unto him. Ratson refers to what a king can or will do for someone he likes. This word represents the position one enjoys before a superior who is favorably disposed towards him. This word represents the position one enjoys before a superior who is favorably disposed to him. So the king's will would be position one enjoys before a superior who is favorably disposed. So if the king likes you and treats you nicely, so like Joseph, for example, he would be the king's will. This nuance is used only of God and frequently in a cultic religious worship context. And the plate engraved with holy to the Lord shall be always upon his high priest's forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. Being accepted means that God subjectively feels well disposed towards the petitioner. Ratzon also signifies a voluntary or arbitrary decision. So that would be the closest one to. Ezra told the people of Israel to do the will of God, to repent and observe the law of Moses. So that one could be. I mean, this is a whole lot of stuff that doesn't apply. Wait, hold on. Okay, here it is. When a man does according to his own will, he does what he desires. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hands, but he did according to his will and became great. One's desires or what one wants. Okay, so, but that doesn't really debunk my position, because part of when I explain free will means what somebody wants to do. It is what you want to do, and then that goes to the idea that you can will your want, but you can't will your will. So you want something. If you want something, why do you want something? You want something because there's something outside of it. Either you want to serve God because God is inspiring you to desire that, or you want to serve yourself, which is serving Satan. So this doesn't really debunk any of my positions. It actually kind of confirms it. In their self-will, they brought disaster upon themselves. That's interesting. That's Genesis 49:6 is the first occurrence. In their self-will, the will of the self, they brought disaster upon themselves. So, yeah, so there's self-will or there's God's will. This is what I've always said. Neither of which are free. If you're serving God and you're doing God's will, which is what you should do, then you reap benefits. If you serve yourself, if you do your self-will, then you're punished and disaster is brought upon you. So there's nothing free about it. Okay, cool. Verified. Glad I figured that out. Okay. So basically it's saying, if ye offer a sacrifice of peace offerings unto the Lord, ye shall offer it at your own desire. It shall be eaten the same day ye offer it, and on the morrow, and if aught remain until the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it shall not be accepted. Therefore, anybody who doesn't normally watch my streams probably has no idea what that was all about. But don't worry about it. I was doing a little self-study just now. Actually, I'm going to highlight that because I'm sure. What's the other one, Genesis? People always like to throw verses at me like I never heard of it before. It shall be eaten the same day ye offer it, and on the morrow it ought to remain the third day, it shall be burnt in the fire. And if it be eaten at all on the third day, it is abominable, it shall not be accepted. Therefore, everyone that eateth it shall bear his iniquity, because he hath profaned the hallowed thing of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people. And when ye reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard. Thou shalt leave them for the poor and stranger. I am the Lord your God. And ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another. Ooh. That's interesting because I've questioned this before. Does bearing false witness necessarily mean lying? We're told in the Ten Commandments not to bear false witness on our brother. And I'm not trying to justify lies, but I thought, does that necessarily mean lying? Bearing false witness on your brother, wouldn't it is a form of lying, but does that mean all lies? Because there are times when people are told to lie in the Bible, or when they do lie and it turns out for the good. But right here it says straight up, don't lie one to another. So that's good to know. And ye shall not swear by the name falsely, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. Thou shalt not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind, but shalt fear thy God. I am the Lord. Wonder if that means, if that's metaphorical, like, because he says the deaf do not hear and the blind do not see, the people who don't know God. I have a feeling that's saying metaphorically, basically, don't don't uh don't curse the people who don't know God, the atheists and they're blind, they can't see you, they're deaf, they can't hear. You don't curse them and you don't put a stumbling block up for them to fall. I'm guessing that that's what it means, that it's more metaphorical there. Not, I don't think it's specific. It could just really specifically be talking about handicapped people, like don't mess with handicapped people. Or it could be both. What is that? 1914? Leviticus 19:14. I want to see if it's. I want to see some other translations. Commands people not to mistreat people who are deaf or blind. Okay. It's saying it's literally Lifnei Iver, before the blind. This verse is a reminder to be compassionate towards people with disabilities. It's also an obligation to remove obstacles that prevent people with disabilities from participating in society. Is it though? Because I mean, I don't know if I agree with this. I feel like it's more talking about non-believers. Everything's saying it's talking about basically don't make fun of people with disabilities. The rights of people with disabilities. Theologyofwork.com. Is your company inclusive of neurodivergent employees? This article from Harvard Business Review asks whether business is ready for the sharp increase in neurodiverse workplace and they're using the Bible, I don't know about this. I think this is some liberal stuff. This seems very liberal, like, oh, don't be ableist. Don't make jokes about the handicapped people. To me, when I read it, and I'm not going to try to lean on my own interpretation. I'm just saying when I'm looking at all these articles, they're literally this article from Theology of Work. So theology in the workplace is saying, is your workplace set up for neurodivergent people? Because Leviticus 19:14 says, you shall not revile the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind. You shall fear your God, for I am the Lord. But the way it reads and the way the Old Testament is written, the blind and the deaf is usually talking about non-believers or non-children. In the Old Testament, it would be people who aren't children of Abraham, people who aren't of the nation of Israel, people who aren't God's chosen people. They're blind and they cannot see. They're deaf and they cannot hear. Not like actually blind and deaf people. Huh. But everything that I'm looking at is saying that it means literally disabled people. So I think it could be both. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. And that's Leviticus 19:14. If anybody wants to look into it, tell me what they think about it. Leviticus 19:15. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor. You shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. But in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. In righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. Which I already knew that judging is hypocrisy we're not supposed to do, but judging is fine. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. A talebearer. Ooh, like a storyteller, but like you're telling tall tales, like the boy who cried wolf. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That gets repeated. Who says that? Jesus says that. Ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Nope, no interracial breeding of your animals. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed, neither shall a garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. That's the close of two cloths thing. And whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid, betrothed to a husband, and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. She shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death, because she was not free. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, even a ram for a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering before the Lord for his sin which he hath done, and the sin which he hath done shall be forgiven him. And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you. It shall not be eaten. But at the 4th year, see, so even the plants have to be circumcised. It doesn't necessarily mean cutting a wee wee. It does for the men here, but later when they talk about circumcisions in the New Testament, they talk about the circumcision of the spirit. But in the 4th year, all the fruit thereof shall be holy, to praise the Lord withal. And in the 5th year shall ye eat of the fruit thereof, that it may yield to you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. Ye shall not eat anything with blood, neither shall ye use enchantments, nor observe times, fortune tellers, sorcery, enchantments. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. We're going to have to do, I don't have a lot of time today, but we're going to have to do a deep dive into this, because this is brought up, all this stuff gets brought up a lot by like atheists and stuff. They say, well, what about cutting the corners of your beard? I think there's more explanation between a lot of this. I specifically want to look at 20 and 21. Leviticus 19, 20, and 21. We're getting a lot of questions out of this section that need answers. Where is the commentaries? Betrothed to a husband, better betrothed to a man, for the law about mixed seeds of the lawgiver passes to heterogeneous alliances. The case here legislated for is that of seducing a bondwoman who is espoused to another man. This bondwoman might be either one of an intermediate kind, that is, the one whose redemption money had been partially paid, or belong to that class who had no prospect of a free discharge. According to the administrators of the law during the Second Temple, the case before us is that of a Canaanitish maid, partly free and partly servile, whom her master had espoused to a Hebrew slave. It's only part of her redemption money had been paid. She was partly free and partly to a slave. She shall be scourged. Literally, there shall be visitation or inquisition. Then, as is frequently the case, the effect of this visitation or requisition, i.e. punishment, which according to the administrators of the law during the Second Temple, consisted in giving the women 40 stripes with the thong of an ox hide. This punishment, however, she only received when it was proved that she was a consenting party to the sin. Hence the rendering in the authorized version, she shall be scourged. The marginal rendering, they shall be scourged, though supported by some ancient versions, is contrary to the legislation during the Second Temple. The punishment prescribed in this clause is for the woman alone. The man's punishment follows in the next verse. They shall not be put to death. As she was a slave and her espousals were illegal, the punishment of death, which was ordinarily inflicted in cases of adultery or seduction of a free woman betrothed to a man, was not inflicted on the man. Yeah, this looks really bad if you're like an atheist. This sounds really bad. This is a tough one. So, but now she only gets punished assuming she knows she's breaking the law or she's not being forced into it. So if she's betrothed to another man and she's a slave and she knows she's supposed to marry another man, but she sleeps with another man, then she gets whipped 40 times. And nothing happens to the man because she was a slave. If she was not a slave he would be killed for adultery. Like, not because he's sleeping with a woman who's betrothed to be married, but since she's a slave who's betrothed to be married, he doesn't get punished. Yeah, this is a rough one. This is a rough one. This is where you gotta just go. You just gotta go back to the old. There was Jews, and it was in the Old Testament. They were crazy. What are you gonna do? Like, I don't know. You can't really justify this. I mean, if she knowingly broke the law and she knew there was a punishment for it, I could see her getting whipped for doing that. But the guy not getting punished just because she's a slave, that's kind of wild. But this is ancient Second Temple Judaism law. There's, it's a tough one. That's a tough one, boys. I don't know what to say about that. We'll just have to pray for revelation on that one. Or go ask your priest or your, I don't know. I just read from one of the church fathers. Well, who did I read from? This is from Ellicott. Who is Ellicott? There's also the Benson commentary. Ellicott's Bible commentary. Charles J. Ellicott. Oh, wow. This is on like all of the books of the Old Testament. Ellicott's Bible commentary, edited by Charles Ellicott. Who is he? What denomination is he? There's other ones here. Charles Ellicott. Distinguished English Christian theologian, briefly termed educated at Stanford School and St. John's College in Cambridge. Briefly served as dean as Exeter, head of the chapter of Cathedral Church of St. Peter in Exeter, England. Bishop of Exeter, who set up offices and dean of Chancellor of Exeter Cathedral. The Bishop of the United See of Gloucester and Bristol. Church of England. Anglican. He was an Anglican scholar. He wrote a lot of stuff. Dude, he didn't beat around the bush. He just said straight up she's going to get whipped 40 times and he's not going to get punished. That's wild. I don't know. And then this one, Corners of the Beard. We'll look this up later because I got to go. I'm going to finish this chapter. We almost got through all of the moral stuff. Tomorrow we have one more chapter. We're going to read about the penalties for things. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. No tattoos. Now, I heard that Jews were actually some of the original tattoo people. Like they were one of the first tribes to do like modern tattoos real early. Real early they were doing ink tattoos on people. I don't know how true that is, but I saw it in something I was watching. I can't remember. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land be full of wickedness. This has been an interesting chapter. I kind of actually want to go back through this chapter tomorrow and take some time and read more of these things because I'm kind of rushing through it because I need to go. But this is 19 is interesting. There's some interesting stuff in here that I want to look deeper into. Ye shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. No magic, no sorcerers, no wizardry, no fortune tellers, no enchantments. Thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and honor the face of the old man and fear thy God. I am the Lord. Honor the face of the old man. Respect your elders. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him. And this is where people will get the idea that we should just let all of the illegal immigrants stay here. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So this is there's definitely a lot of stuff in this chapter that I want to dig deeper into. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Don't put your thumb on the scale. If you're dealing with people, if you're selling or trading with people, you don't put your thumb on the scale. You deal right. You trade what you're supposed to trade, the right amount. Therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. I am the Lord. Yeah, I'm going to stop for today. We're going to read about penalties tomorrow in chapter 20, but I think I'm going to go over chapter 19 again tomorrow, slower. And we're really going to look through some of these things, read some of different denominations and different scholars and different, like this guy's an Anglican. He was an Anglican bishop at the Church of England. He wrote a lot of books. We'll check out the Benson commentary, Matthew Henry's concise commentary, Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, the Geneva Study Bible. We'll look at all of this tomorrow. The Pulpit commentary, Cambridge Bible for schools and colleges. We'll dig into some of these things deeper tomorrow to get a better understanding. So we'll go back through 19 moral practices. Because it says here on this pyramid thing that those are moral practices, not dietary laws or cultural laws, but these are moral laws. So I want to look deeper into the thing about the corners of the beard, the different wearing different cloths, because you need to be able to combat atheists who are going to bring stuff like this up. So we'll do that tomorrow. That's the plan. We'll do tomorrow. We'll do 19 again, 20, 21, 22. So we're at Leviticus 18 through, let me change the title. Leviticus 14 through 19. Only 5 chapters today. Leviticus is a short book. And let me see if there's somebody we can read. Crucible, Helldivers, Chill Day. Andrew's playing video games. AC's live. I'll send you over to AC. He needs some view hours so he can get monetized. I'll send you over to Angry Conservative. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll go through 19 again. Take it slower and read some of these explanations of some of these things that I've always wondered about, like the wearing two cloths, not cutting the corners off your beard. Try to get more reasoning for that whipping the slave girl thing. We'll look into that more tomorrow. And then we'll do chapter 20, 21, 22 tomorrow. Really want to go slowly through these, actually, because the sexual ones are pretty basic, but these practices and penalties, well, penalties we haven't read yet, but specifically Leviticus 19, a lot of these things get brought up in debates with atheists. So I really want to take some time to go through what we just read in chapter 19 slower tomorrow and get full context on everything. So that's the plan for tomorrow. I will see you guys then. Thank you for hanging out. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Leah Parsons, shout out. Hit the like button on your way out and say hi to Angry Conservative for me, guys. God bless. Peace.